Well, hey guitar learners, this is an updated course on switching from playing acoustic guitar into playing some electric guitar. So I have some resources. I have a free Google Drive link in the description below that will help you access some of the resources that get talked about in these videos. So right off the bat, if you are coming over from acoustic guitar into leading with electric, you're used to playing all of the strings and you're used to playing these big open chords. And so in electric guitar land, those may be really fitting for a lot of purposes, especially if you're holding down some rhythm. You're going to be strumming a lot less. But what I want to show you is how I play, like all of my tricks and tips, things that I've put together over the years, because what I want to build is build a sound, especially at church, in a church context, that sounds really good, or that fits in the mix, or that sticks out in the mix a little bit better, so that you don't get buried into just all of the other rhythm, right? The piano is already playing rhythm, the bass is holding down the bass notes, right? And so I'm gonna help you stick out a little bit in the mix. So for starters, you're gonna need an electric guitar. Then you're also going to need some pedals, or an all-in-one solution. I play through a Helix Stadium. That's a huge investment. If you're looking for a smaller investment, I would say get yourself a Pod Go and get yourself a free preset from Worship Tutorials. They have some great free resources over there, some actual presets that you can set up and use. So things that are really applicable to worship contexts and things that aren't going to break the bank, especially if you're like, boy, I don't even know where to start with pedals. Yeah, it can be a time sink and it can be a money sink. So get yourself a Pod Go, get yourself some free resources, and you should be good to go out there. So for starters, if you are getting started with electric guitar, I would recommend learning the low 2 strings. So you might already know where these root notes are at. So on your low E string, so that would be your 6th string, or the string closest to your face when you're holding your guitar, your low E string, and then you've got your F note, F sharp, G, G sharp, A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D, D sharp, E, right? So you've got those low notes. Now, if you start putting together some other strings and the way that they are separated, your 5th string, your A string, so you have your A string, you've got your A sharp, B, C, C sharp, D. So on your 5th fret, you're on the D, D sharp, E, F, F sharp, G, G sharp, and then you're back to A, of course, on your 12th fret. So if you know those 2 strings up and down, for starters, you can absolutely play bass guitar with those, but also you can start putting together power chords, and you can play them with 2 notes or you can play with 3 notes. I prefer 3 notes. Chords, one where your index finger is going to be on the root note, and you're going to use those fret markers to help yourself out figuring out where you are in notes. And so on the 3rd fret, that's where your G is on your low E string. And so if you fret that, and then with your ring finger on your A string, 5th fret, that's a D. And then with your pinky finger on the 5th fret of your D string, that's another G note. So you're hitting an octave of G's on that 6th string and the 4th string, and the middle string, the A string in this case, is your 5th of the chord, right? And so it's neither major nor minor. So if you're playing those 3 notes, that's gonna fit for any G chord, whether it's a G or a G minor. And so what you're going to want to do is either only play those 3 strings, you don't want the high 3 strings to ring out at all, or you can lay your index finger a little bit, not pressing down, but just touching or muting those high 3 strings. So you can kind of hear that. It just sounds like a right? Because it's muted. It's not making any sort of tone or note from those high 3 strings. So G, up 2 frets, that's an A. Up 2 frets, that's a B. Up 1 fret is a C. Up 2 frets is a D. If you keep going, you're back to E. And so you can get a lot of chords or a lot of, pieces of songs. By just sliding up and down with those power chords. But you're not gonna be able to get to a lot of those very quickly, and so switching to fretting your root note on the A string can be really beneficial. In a G, you might wanna go to a B minor or a B, and instead of sliding all the way up there, right, you can go to this spot on your A string, 2nd fret, there's your B, same shape with your hands. Same shape with your hands. The ring finger is 2 frets higher, and the pinky finger is on the next string, this time the G string, on that same fret with your ring finger. So G, B or B minor. Up here at your 5th fret, there's your D. 2 more frets is an E. 2 more frets is an F sharp. 1 more fret is a G. And so you can spend some time learning where all of these chords are, right? Where these power chords are located. A, B, D, C, E, another G. And so there's no minor. And so it just makes things a little bit simpler, a little bit easier. And then if you're looking for like not letting it just ring out entirely, you can also work on a palm muting technique. So the palm that we're talking about is on your right hand, and it tends to rest right on your bridge, right where your strings are contacting that first part of the metal. And so on every guitar it might look a little bit different, or it might be located in a slightly different spot. But if you set the fat of your hand right along there and just kind of gently touch it as you strum, apply more or less pressure and make it sound chunkier, or let it ring a little and then clip it off. So that is one way of utilizing your strumming hand to make it even more rhythmic, right? So that's very rhythm heavy. So if we just play a chord progression, G, C, D, E minor, right? I would play my G here. Then I would switch to my A root note, because my C is right there on the 3rd fret. Slide up 2 frets, that's my D. Slide up 2 more frets, and that's the E minor. So that's gonna be great for like big and powerful parts of songs, like a chorus or a really big bridge. So for quieter things, that's gonna show up in the next lesson. So just some ideas, a couple thoughts about your pedal board or whatever effects you're using. Definitely have distortion or overdrive, either one, to get that kind of growly sound, because if it's clean, without overdrive or distortion, it's not going to sound quite like you expect. It's going to sound kind of anemic if you're trying to play power chords without distortion or overdrive. So definitely make sure you have distortion and overdrive. You could also utilize some reverb and delay. I absolutely have that going on, because you'll hear that. You can hear them both. The delay causes the repeats of the note to happen at certain intervals, and I have that set to BPM, the beats per minute for every song. And then the reverb, of course, makes it sound like you're in a room. It's not so sterile, especially with digital modelers. That's going to be an important factor as well. So that's just a little bit about the tone. Hopefully there are some people in your church already who can either help you or give you some guidance on that. But definitely check out the links below for some resource ideas, and I will see you in video number 2.